do some exercise.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So welcome to those of you that have just joined us. Thanks for joining us today. If you could just type in the chat, as always, which city or country you're viewing the webinar from, so we have an idea of where people are tuning in from. So we got Omar from Brampton, we got Winnipeg, Toronto. It's a lot of people in Canada.
Yeah.
Kitchener, Calgary. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got Ashmead from India. We got someone from Nigeria, Middle East, Sri Lanka. Nice.
Wow.
People from all over. We got Mexico. Nice.
Everybody.
Yeah. And that's Canada. Like, it has people from all over the world.
Yeah, this is diversity.
Yeah. Especially like Toronto is very diverse. The bigger cities. Yeah. So
Ready to start? Or...
Yeah, whenever you're ready there.
Okay.
So we got someone from UK, Cambridge, Ontario, Brantford, Togo. Nice. So hope everybody's having a good morning or afternoon or evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And post here. We'll just get started in a couple minutes.
So I can start share my screen.
Yeah. We got a question here. How can you do test on the CELPIP profile?
Do you see my screen now?
Yeah. Yeah, so today, folks, we're going to be talking about immigration to Canada, so the immigration process, and then I'm going to be talking after about the CELPIP test, which is one of the English tests you can take for your permanent residence.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert. I'm a migration consultant. I'm give you this presentation today with my friend here, Patrick Maccarone. I'm actually, as I said, that I'm a graduate immigration consultant here in Laval, Montreal, in the province of Quebec. And also, I'm regulated by the Quebec Registry of Immigration Consultant, and in addition to be a commissioner for rules for Quebec and for outside. So Patrick, if you want to give an intro about you.
Yeah, sure. So I've been with CELPIP for about 7 years, and I've worked in different departments. So I've worked in customer service, supporting the test taker journey. I've helped to open test centers, and I'm working in business development now, helping to spread the awareness of the test worldwide. I have a Bachelor of Social Work degree from a university in Toronto. Worked helping newcomers like find work, prepare their resumes, prepare for job interviews, register for language classes. So I've had a lot of experience working with newcomers to Canada.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So, small intro about our work as I'm founder of EgyCanada Immigration Center. So it's a regulated immigration firm specializing in Canadian immigration, and for temporary application also. So we started on November 2016. We offer individual service in the following program, which is the express entry, including the Canadian Experience class, federal skilled worker, and the federal skilled trade classes also. In addition to the provisional nominees program, study permit, visitor visa, also, and work permit. And also we do application or Canadian citizen application for the people interested to be Canadian or starting from PR to be a Canadian citizen. and also the for the Quebec skilled worker as being a consultant approved by the MIFI or Quebec Ministry of Immigration, and also the family class sponsorship for the spouses and common law and the parent and grandparent and any other. So today we'll try to give you an information about the Canadian immigration programs, and so it's in general we try to cover the majority of the programs, but of course here in Canada we have a lot of programs, or more than 60 programs, so we will not be able to cover all the programs, but we give you a broad idea about this and how the CELPIP can help you to achieve your goal and get your dream to be able to immigrate to Canada or settle in Canada. So primarily, what are the benefits to immigrate to Canada? So we have high standard of living. So here in Canada, Canada is known for excellent education program and education system. The healthcare it's free and it's giving for everybody. In addition to, they have the diverse cultural landscape. So Canada offers a diverse culture. So we have from every nation and every country and every region here in Canada. We live in peaceful environment, no hate, no hate speeches. Always the country or the government try to avoid any problems or to try to make diversity accepted all the time. Also, the career opportunities. So Canada's strong economy provide ample of job opportunities across the various sectors in all different sectors of work. And finally, the safe environment for the families. So Canada generally is safe, welcoming country for all the families. So all the families, kids can grow up here in the country, have their university, can work, and bring your family, can bring your grandparents and grandparents. So can bring your all family here to live with you in Canada. So it's a very nice environment. Also, we have diversity of weather. Sometimes, yeah, snow can be difficult, but generally we have the other season are very good. So let's talk about the statistics. So we want to know if Canada is welcoming people. So yes, Canada is indeed welcoming as per Immigration Canada. On 2022, Canada has welcomed over 400,000 immigrants despite the global challenges and the COVID-19 and the war. So we try, or the Immigration in Canada try to welcome everybody, and because the Canadian immigration is very crucial part for Canada, and the immigrants are helping the Canadian economy. So, of course, the economic immigration program is the priority programs. So, for example, the express entry programs, it's playing a significant role in the attracting skilled workers here to Canada. Also, the Canada is welcoming to or continue to prioritize the immigration to meet their economic needs. And also, Canada is welcoming the temporary immigrant or the temporary visitors to Canada as a temporary visitor or a student or as a temporary worker. So these temporary immigrants or temporary visitors are welcomed also because we have a lot of programs that they may be able to stay or settle in Canada for a long time or permanently in Canada. So yeah, we have a good opportunities here. So we have a lot of pathways to immigrate to Canada. So we have the economic programs or economic class, which is including the federal skilled worker, the Canadian experience class, also the Provisional Nominees Program and the Quebec Skilled Worker. And also the Provisional Nominees Program, it's covering more than 10 provinces and territories. So here for each province, we have, each province has its own immigration program. So you can include or enter to the express entry pool, or you can apply directly to the immigration program or the provincial programs. And you get selected or get nominated by the province, and then you'll be able to apply for the permanent residency. Also, we have a second major group, which is the family class. So the family class is including the sponsorship for spouses and the common law partner and the conjugal partner also. We have also the parent and grandparent programs. And we have also the other relatives, which is any family related by blood under the 18 years old. The third program, which is the protected person. So also Canada has its own role to protect the people or the people suffering from persecution or fear to return to their countries, or the refugees. So they welcoming or they have some programs, federal programs and Quebec programs also to protect these people and persons that are suffering from this fear to return to their countries. And the last program, which is the humanitarian and compassionate program. This is additionally or for the people who are suffering in exceptional cases or family cases, or that will prohibit them from returning to their country. So we have a lot of program. We try to cover the majority of the program and mainly the economic programs. So let's talk about the requirements. So we have to be able to immigrate, so you need to satisfy several requirements, and you have some documents to have it or to provide it to the immigration. So you have to be able to prove the language proficiency. So you need to prove your language skills in the English or the French. Also need to, for the education and work experience, you need to provide transcripts, diploma, and these diplomas should be attested by Education Assessment Agency here in Canada. And also you need to provide a work certificate or work reference letters and contracts to prove your experience or the previous experience that you are applying for. And third part, which is you need to have the proof that you are medically and security, from security wise, also you don't have any criminal records and you're medically healthy in general. So you need to undergo a medical exam and obtain a police certificate or police clearance certificate from the country you live or any country you lived for more than 6 months. And final step is the proof of funds. So of course you need to have a proof or a financial documents that prove you're able to cover your expenses whenever you start to settle in country. So you need to have some documents or financial documents that prove yours or prove your financial stability. So let's start by the first program, or the first economic problem is the express entry system. So the express entry system is not a program itself. It's a way the Immigration Canada created to help the people, because we receive a lot of application and people interested to settle in Canada. So the Immigration Canada decided to apply this program or the express entry system that include or is including the 3 subcategories: the Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Federal Skilled Trade and the Canadian Experience Class, to get the most successful people from all over the world and put them in the pool, and they will select the most successful people and the ranking, or get the people who are getting high ranking numbers in this. So this program is designed for skilled people who wish to become a permanent resident. It's a point-based, so it's based on your age, your education, your work experience, and non-proficiency, work language proficiency. As I said, it's including the 3 categories. So let's talk also about what requirements you should have to be able to apply for the express entry or enter the pool of express entry. So we have, of course, our friend here, the CELPIP, or the Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. The general test is of course, one of the most exams that are approved by the Immigration Canada since, I think, 2012. Also, we have the IELTS, or the International English Language Testing Center or System. The general training, also the option. We recently received, or it has been approved by Immigration Canada, the Pearson Test of English, the PTE for the option. And also, if you're fluent in French, so you can apply to have the French language as your first language. So we can apply for the TEF, the Canada, or the Test d'évaluation du français, or the TCF Canada, the Test de connaissance du français, or the French language evaluation exams. So these language tests evaluate the 4 abilities, which is the writing, reading, listening, and speaking. Of course, to be able to apply for, or to enter, or to submit your express entry profile, you should provide a recent certificate, which is not must be less than 2 years. So this is one of the most important requirement, is to have the language requirement or the approved language test ready. Let's talk about the second. First, should this are approved? So the minimum language level for express entry, for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So you should, if you selected the first language as English or French, you should provide, or should have the CLB, the CLB level 7. And for if you want to add second language or second official language, French or English, you should provide the CLB 5. If you had an experience here in Canada and you want to apply for the Canadian Experience Class, so this is depend on your job category or job classification. So if your job is in category 0 or 1, you should have the CLB or NCLS, it's number 7, or the level 7. And also, if your job category is under the tier number 2 and 3, or 3, you should be selecting or having a certificate in the level of CLB 5. And of course, if you have a skilled trades, or you have an experience like any maintenance job, or a plumbing job or experience, this, of course, should have a certificate of qualification that's approved by Immigration Canada. You should provide a certificate or a proof in the speaking and listening in the CLB 5. And of course, if you have also to prove your reading and writing experience, so this should be in the CLB 4. Experience. So let's continue. So about the education work experience. So need for the further skilled worker as we start. So for education, of course, it's a minimum high school diploma. Of course, should provide a transcript and diploma, which should be approved by our approved education assessment agency. We have several education agencies here approved by Immigration Canada. So first you apply or you send your diploma and certificate for this agency, and they will give you a document or report saying that your education program or education certificate or your bachelor degree or your master degree is equivalent to the Canadian system. So by this certificate, you'll be able to also to create this or to add this to your profile for Express Entry profile. For the work experience, of course, you should have at least a minimum of 1 year of experience. And of course, this experience should be supported by work reference letters or documents. For the Canadian experience class, of course, you should have, there's no minimum education requirement, but the most important issue is to have a work experience in Canada or at least 1 year of skilled worker experience in Canada within the last 3 years before you submit your application. The further skilled trade, of course, it's designed for the people who are skilled trade people, like the electrician, the welder, the plumbers. First, you should be able to apply. To be able to apply, you should have a certificate of qualification that's approved from the province or the territory that you want to live in. And of course, you should have at least 2 years of work in this trade.
Robert, there's
Yes.
a question here. What if you graduated in Canada?
For which program?
I believe they must mean just in terms of getting your degree evaluated, or maybe if you can type in the chat, Kristen, which program you're referring to.
If you're talking about the federal skilled worker, of course, if you have education from here, so you don't need to re-evaluate the certificates because it's already evaluated.
Yes.
So how the Express Entry works. So we have a pool that was created or will be created to select or we accept all the applicants from all over the world. So we have the step one, we have a program or a system, we call it the comprehensive ranking system, which is the metric used by the Canadian government to assess and rank the profiles of the candidates that already applied for the Express Entry pool. So it's based on or different purpose or different systems. So the purpose, of course, it's evaluate the specific aspects of each applicant. So in this pool, we should provide information about your age, your education, your language proficiency, and your experience, of course. Your relative, you have relatives, you have siblings here in Canada, you should provide also this information. And the scoring, so for each aspect of this, you will get a score or a points that will assign you in a level. And then finally, the total profile will be ranked against all the other candidates. So let's say if your profile gets a 400 points and we receive some candidates, so many candidates, if the country or if IRCC selected to select 400 points, so you will be selected and you will be receive an invitation to apply, which is the last point. This invitation to apply will allow you to apply or send a complete application approved by your documentations, the ACH certificate or the education assessment certificate, the language certificate, the proof of fund, the proof of relatives if you have, or the siblings if you have in Canada, if you have any education in Canada, if you have experience, if you have approved job in Canada, all this should be provided in the. So the pool starts by two main steps. Step one is to create a profile. So to be able to create a profile, you start to fill your information. If you are married, you should provide your wife or your partner information and your information about your kids or how many kids you have, the proof of the fund or how many funds you have, how many points you get in the CELPIP or in the language exam you did, how many experience, the job category you are applying for, or the tier number. And then once you provide all this information, you'll be able to submit your profile in the Express Entry pool. And then once it's in the pool, so it's open to for everybody, or open to the IRCC to select or do a selection of the candidates or the select of the application. Normally they do a selection or an invitation, round of invitation every couple of weeks or every month. It depends. Recently, they did 2 rounds of invitation within 2 weeks. One was for Canadian experience class, the other for provincial nominees. Also, the Canadian immigration, they added a category, specific programs, which is they have some major job categories that they've been more demanding. So if they will select people, or they will do more round of invitation for these categories, which is give you more or less score to be included if you are in these categories. The step 2, if you are selected or you receive an invitation to apply, you'll be able to apply for the permanent residence and you submit a complete application. So I'm just want to show you that how the language can help you, or how the CELPIP, as we're talking today, or any other language you prefer, can help you to get selected. So if, let's say, if here we evaluate the language, if you get selected or if you applied for a language, if you have a CELPIP 10, for example, or more, you will get high points, of course, or the highest point. Also, if you have this level of CELPIP 10 or CELPIP 9, your results or your numbers will be recalculated again, or add an extra points, which is adding to your final score. Of course, if you have a second language, which is if it's French, as the Immigration Canada is promoting the French language also. So if you get CELPIP 7 in French, you will get an extra 50 points, which is adding more score to your Express Entry profile, which is make you more eligible, or more have more chances to get selected or get an invitation. So this is generally about the Express Entry profile, but also we have the second part, which is the provisional nominees or provisional nominee programs. So in the provisional nominee, each province or territory has its own stream requirements. For example, we have some groups or some provinces select people who are recent student of the province, or get a certificate or education or a bachelor degree from the province, so they get an invitation or they will be eligible to apply. If you are a business people or business investor, you have a net worth that around, minimally for any province, it's around 500,000 Canadian dollars. You may get a chances to get a nomination. Also, we have some people who are skilled workers, or some jobs who are more selected or more demanding. So you may be able to get an invitation or get nominated if you are in these categories. Also, we have the semi-skilled or some other job which is more demanding. but it's less. The education requirement is less than the skill. Of course, to be able to be selected for this provincial nomination, you should meet the requirement of the provincial criteria, and you receive a nomination to complete your immigration application profile. Generally, we have two major streams or major pathways to immigrate through the immigration provincial nominees programs. We have the express entry process and we have the non-express entry process. So if you have a pool that's already open, or you have a profile that's already open and it's in the pool, the RCIC or the provinces may select your profile if your profile has a job or demanded job. So you may get selected or get invited by the province, and you receive an invitation on your profile saying that X province is so that your profile is interesting and they want to nominate you. So you check your eligibility, of course, and of course you get the nomination. So you apply for the province, you fill all the requirements of this province, you get the nomination certificate, and then after you get the nomination, you need to update your express entry profile, or the province will update your profile. You will add that you will have been selected by X province, and the profile will be updated to add an additional 600 points, which is make your profile have more chances to be selected. And of course, you will be selected in the next round of invitation. And of course, you will receive an invitation to apply. And then you will be able to apply for a permanent residence application or permanent residency. You need to complete your profile and you submitted all documentation within 60 days. The second stream, which is the non-express entry profile. So you check all the provinces that may select your profile or are demanding for your job category. So you check if you are eligible, you get the minimum points, and then you will apply a complete file or submit your complete file to the province, and then you get a nomination from this province. By this nomination, you will apply for the RCIC or the Immigration Canada, the federal part, to get the PR application or the PR documents, and then you will be able to come to Canada. Okay, so we'll continue again for the third program, which is the business immigration programs. So I have plenty of this program. So we have the investor program. Investor program, we used to have a program that was created by the Federal Immigration Department, but this program has been suspended or stopped for we didn't meet the requirement or the acceptance for Immigration Canada. So the Immigration Quebec has created a special program for investors. If they want to come to Canada or come to Quebec especially, and create a program, create a business here in Canada, and should have a net worth that exceeding the $1 billion. And also they will do a deposit in financial institution here in Canada approved by Immigration Quebec. They will leave this deposit for 5 years, and then they will get it back. Of course, this program is prioritizing the French speakers or the people who have a good communication of French language. For entrepreneur program, so we have some entrepreneur program for all the provinces, including the Quebec also, which is providing additional pathways. So they will come to Canada. I would be interested to come to Canada to start a business or creating a business from scratch, or purchasing a running business, and they will be receiving a work permit and we'll start the business and then get the PR. For the self-employed program, so if you have an experience or a self-employed experience in, or a significant experience in certain culture or part of professions, or even other professions, you maybe have a chance to get selected or made an application for Canadian immigration. It's different from the express entry profile and from express entry system in general. You can apply directly for this program for Immigration Canada. We have program for the federal part and we have program for the Quebec part. What currently we are receiving application, if you have an experience in the culture or part of professions, you will be able to apply directly for, as I said, for immigration or the federal part. The startup visa, it's very promising because the government of Canada is giving more help and pushing to help people to come to Canada under the startup visa. This is for people or entrepreneurs that want to have, or they have an idea or idea for a business that has a potential business that will be flourishing in Canada. So they will apply or they will get an invitation or they submit their idea. So for some investors here or approved by Immigration Canada. And then this investor will provide them with a letter of support. By this letter of support, you'll be able to apply for the immigration program under the startup visa, and you may get a permit to complete the business or start a business. Of course, all these programs is requiring to have a minimum language requirement. So again and again, the language proficiency, it's very it's a good it's a requirement for all the program, and you should provide a good language. So of course you should work on this language and pass the exam as soon as possible to be able to get selected or get a chance to be applying for this program. Also, we have, as said, with the provisional nomination program. Of course, it's welcoming all the business immigrants from over the world if you want to start or create a program, a business here in Canada. And finally, the work permits. So you may get eligible for all these programs. You may get, for the majority, like let's say for entrepreneur, the startup, you may get a work permit until you get and come to start to work or start a business here until you get your documentation completed and your permanent residency application done. For the first program, which is the Quebec Immigration Program, these programs are mainly for the French speakers or the people are very strong in the French language or more native speaker for French. So we have two major programs, the skilled worker and the PEQ program or the Quebec Experience Program. So for the skilled worker, to be eligible for this, to get the CSQ or the Quebec Selection Certificate under this program, should have a specific point or sufficient point based on the Quebec Immigration Selection Grid, which is based again on the your education, work experience, the age, the knowledge of French. Of course, the minimum language or the requirements for French is in CLB 7 or NCLC set. You should have a family, or it's not a should, it's a additional point if you have a family or you stayed or you studied in Quebec, the province of Quebec. Of course, if you have a validated job offer or a job offer from an employer who wants to hire you for permanently here in Canada, you may get also or have an extra points, and you will get more points to get invited It's similar to the express entry pool, but it's a different pool. Let's say every month, the Immigration Quebec select people based on the criteria they assign every month. So some times they select people who already have a job offer. Sometimes they select people or some job categories that it's more demanding. All the requirements or all the times or the invitation, the people who are be selected to based on, of course, their knowledge of French language. So they should always the possibility to have to get the CELPIP 7 or the CLC. Also, the presence of children, it has a good number, or add your profile. It's different from the express entry profile. If you also the characteristic of your spouse, like her age, her qualification, her experience, her French capability to speak in French. Also, this will add to your profile. The second category, it's a requirement to have or to that you worked or studied in Quebec for a period of time. If you worked or studied, let's start by the worker. So if you work temporarily in Quebec, in the province of Quebec, for work, you should or you'll be able to prove or submit a profile to get selected or get the CSQ certificate. Of course, you should have an experience of full-time work experience in Quebec for at least 24 months out of the 36 months in a job category 0A or B, or tier, as we call it, tier 0, 1, and 2, and 0, 1, and 2, and 3 also. You should, of course, have a legal status. So if you have a work permit, the work permit should be valid. If you have a visitor visa, so the visitor visa should be valid. Of course, you should prove your language or proficiency in language. If you have a spouse, of course, you should provide her a proficiency in her French language. So she should have at least level 4. Let's talk about the temporary foreign graduates. So the graduates, if you came here to Canada and you passed, let's say, a bachelor degree or ESC or ECS or AEC, as we call it in French, or a master degree or a bachelor degree or a doctorate. So you will be able to apply for this program. But of course, you should be able to, or you already started or studied here in Canada for at least, or in Quebec especially, for 75% of your of this program. Of course, should prove your spoken language or spoken French at level 7. And of course, the knowledge of written French should be at least level 5. Should be all, of course, legally living in Quebec. So you should, your permit or study permit or your visitor visa should be valid during the application, and you should be able to prove that you are financially have a self-sufficient. And then the non-economic programs. So the non-economic programs is not based on your economic situation or your education or your age, or it's based on special issues. Let's talk about, let's say, if you have a family or you have a spouse or a parent or a child or grandchild, you may be able to apply under the family sponsorship. So if you have a partner here or is a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, they may sponsor you to come here to Canada. So there's no requirements for or economic or medication requirements or education minimum, but the mainly you should be able, the sponsor should be working, have a job here in Canada, not taking any social aid, not getting not revoked, or not living outside of Canada. Of course, should be living inside Canada when one once you will be a permanent resident here in Canada. We have two major programs also, the refugee program and the humanitarian program. Refugee and asylum program, as I said, we have several programs. We have the government assisted refugee program, and have a private sponsorship and refugee claimant. So if you are a refugee claimant, or if the people who are come to Canada like with a visitor visa or passing by the border, and they declare that they have an issue or a problem with their government and they cannot be able to come back to their country, so they apply for a refugee claim, and then this refugee claim will be studied by the Immigration Canada or the RRBB here, and then you'll be, if the application is selected or approved, you get or you stay or get a documentation or can get a work permit to stay till they take a decision on your claim. The private sponsorship, we have a program by the Immigration Canada and by Immigration Quebec. These programs are, you should have the status, or the person should have the status of refugee before they apply for this program. The private sponsorship is if you have the refugee status and you have some people or some members, they want to sponsor you, so they will sponsor you for at least 1 year. Should be at least 5 people if your relatives or your sponsor is in the federal or outside Quebec. Also, you will get, if you are in your relatives or your sponsor is in Quebec, you can get, or should have 2 people, or at least 2 people can sponsor. For humanitarian and compassionate grounds, so all the people that are facing exceptional circumstances and they are in Canada, some cases, sometimes they are outside Canada, they may apply for permanent residency. It's a subcategories, I call it, under the family sponsorship. It's most of the time. Like, for example, if a person wants to sponsor their partner and she has a issue, like she's taking a social aid or something, and but the family, they won't be united together. So, and we have an exceptional issue that will not allow her to work or something like this, we may apply under this program. Or a family that may living together for several years, and one of the member, they get deported for some issue, we may apply for the humanitarian compassion programs to allow the family stay together, because they have family and have kids and want grown up together. Finally, this is a program based on a case by case. It's not a standard program. It's taking, of course, longer time to get the acceptance, but it's a kind of non-economic program. It's a humanitarian program. So yeah, it's a program for some people who are facing exceptional circumstances. So that's all for me today. I will give the call for Patrick to explain about the requirements for or the CELPIP program, the timing, and everything about it. And this is here my contact number if you have my contact information for additional consultation. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Robert. So maybe what we can do is I'll quickly get into my presentation, and then at the end we can answer questions from the audience. So I'll just launch my my slides here, and then we will have a Q&A period at the end where people can ask questions, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can.
Yep.
I'll just get into it here. Okay. All right, so I'm here today to talk to you about the CELPIP English test. So it's one of the approved language tests for permanent residence and citizenship in Canada that you can take. And it's used for permanent residency, citizenship, and also for professional designation. We're very happy to be collaborating with EgyCanada, Robert and his team on this great session. So basically with CELPIP, you can take it in Canada, but also internationally. So this is the current snapshot of countries where you can take the CELPIP test. And we're opening in new countries every couple weeks or months. So you can check out our social media to find out the new places that we've opened up in. Recently, we've opened new test sittings in Birmingham, England. In Lebanon, we opened CELPIP testing. We recently opened in Ecuador and also in Edinburgh, Scotland. So we're trying to become convenient to test takers all around the world. And we will be opening in more places as time goes on. So we also recently opened testing centers in Islamabad and Lahore, Pakistan. So for anybody that's in Pakistan, we're now also open in Islamabad and Lahore, not just Karachi. So we're open in 3 cities now in Pakistan. In Canada, we have lots of CELPIP test centers. So in basically most major cities in Canada, we do have a test center. And in the bigger cities like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver, we have lots of CELPIP test centers. So just to keep that in mind. So what makes CELPIP different from other English tests that are available to you to take? So CELPIP is Canadian first and foremost. So it was developed by the University of British Columbia in BC. It is a Canadian-made test. It is computer delivered, so there is no paper format of the test, but you do have to go to a test center and take the test on a computer. You do all 4 components, listening, reading, writing, and speaking within 3 hours. So you don't have to come back later to the test center to do your speaking interview because you complete the speaking with the other components all within 3 hours. So once the 3 hours is up, you've completed your full test. The results come out in only 3 to 4 days after your test. So they'll be posted online in your CELPIP account, and you can download those results onto your computer and submit them online to the Government of Canada or whoever is requesting your CELPIP scores. Last but not least, we have a lot of free study materials. So we have free practice tests on the website. We have a YouTube channel, which has hours of recorded lessons. We have podcasts that we release. We have different seminars that we run every week. So lots of material to practice for free. And then we also have a paid online bookstore if you've used all the free material and now you want to purchase more study products. So we have 2 types of CELPIP tests. So the CELPIP general test is if you're applying for permanent residency. So that tests you in the 4 language skills, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The test fee is $280 Canadian plus tax. So depending on where you're taking CELPIP, the test price will vary a little bit. But in Canada, it's $280 plus tax. So the CELPIP general test is 3 hours long. But if you're a little bit quicker and you finish the test in 2 hours, then it's only a 2-hour test for you. So as soon as you're done, you can get up and leave the test center. So, but it's a maximum of 3 hours long that you'll get to write the exam. If you need to take an English test for Canadian citizenship, then we have the CELPIP General LS test. So that only tests you in listening and speaking, because when you're applying for citizenship, you only have to prove your listening and speaking skills to the government, not reading and writing as well. So that test is only an hour long, and it's $195 Canadian plus tax. So it's a lot cheaper because you're only being tested in 2 components, not for Canadian citizenship. CELPIP is also accepted by a lot of different professional organizations. So if you're looking to become a licensed professional in a certain career path, oftentimes you're going to have to take an entry language test. So CELPIP is accepted by a lot of these professional organizations in Canada. So if you want to become like a licensed medical professional in Canada, or a licensed real estate agent, or a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, CELPIP is accepted as an admission requirement for to become a licensed professional in these career paths. Okay, and the website has the list, the full list of all the professional organizations that accept the CELPIP test. So for CELPIP scoring, you're going to get a level from 0 to 12 in each component. CELPIP is fully aligned with the Canadian language benchmark levels. So the Government of Canada on an immigration application will ask you to meet a Canadian language benchmark level, or CLB level, in your language test. So the CELPIP levels are fully equivalent to the CLB levels. So, for example, if you have to meet a CLB 7 in your English test, then that means you have to meet a CELPIP level 7. So they're fully equivalent, so you don't have to do any extra conversion on what is a CELPIP level into a CLB level. You can go to the Government of Canada's website, which is canada.ca, or contact an immigration professional such as Robert to find out which score you have to meet in your language test. The results come out faster now, so they come out in only 3 to 4 days after your test. It used to be 4 to 5, but now you get your results in only 3 to 4 days after your CELPIP exam. This is an example of a test room for CELPIP. So the test center will provide all the equipment that you need to write your exam, but you will be seated at your own computer workstation. You're going to have a headset that's provided by the test center. It's going to have a microphone, and everyone's going to have dividers in between their workstations to give you that privacy. The first component you will encounter on the CELPIP test is listening. So you're going to have your headset on. You're going to be listening to different audio conversations in the headset. You will get one chance to hear each conversation. And as you're listening to the conversation, you will not know what the questions are until you finish the audio conversation. So the listening section is a great time to take notes. The test center will provide a pen or pencil and note paper for you to take notes. So everybody will get 2 blank sheets of note paper when they start their exam. And if you've used both sheets of note paper, you can raise your hand and request more note paper. But basically, the format is multiple choice. So there's about 38 total multiple choice questions in the listening component. You don't lose marks for guessing wrong. So if you're unsure of the answer to a question, or you're running out of time, it's better to just pick an answer for every question than to leave anything blank, because you don't lose marks if you guess incorrectly. So just make sure you've picked an answer for every question. As you go through the listening component, the conversations, like the audio clips and the questions, will get gradually harder. So maybe the questions near the end of the listening component will be worth a little bit more than the questions at the beginning. So just to keep that in mind. You're always going to have a timer in the top right corner of your screen, which lets you know how much time you have to complete each series of questions. This is showing you how the listening interface looks. So sometimes you're going to listen to an audio conversation. You're going to then listen to the question and then pick an answer. So you have to pick one out of a possible 4 answer choices. So just remember, make sure to select an answer for every question, because you don't lose marks for guessing wrong. You can wait for the time to expire to automatically carry you to the next part, or you can click the next button if you've already answered the question and you want to advance to the next question. Just keep in mind, once you've clicked next, you cannot go back to a previous section to change anything. So you can click next to advance ahead of time before the timer expires, but you cannot go back once you've clicked the blue next button. The second component you will encounter is reading. So reading is also multiple choice, but it's a little bit different than listening because you will have the reading passages on the left and then the questions on the right. So what we recommend for this component is don't spend a lot of time trying to read and understand every detail in the reading. Maybe you can read the first sentence of every paragraph to get the main idea. Then you want to start looking at your questions. So if question number 1 is talking about hockey, then you want to go back to the reading and you want to scan your eyes over the paragraphs and look for keywords that relate to hockey. So if paragraph number 3 is talking about skating or ice rinks, then that will help you locate where the answer to the hockey question is. So you want to get into the habit of scanning for keywords in the reading paragraphs that relate to the question you're trying to answer. And that will help you to efficiently answer the questions in the reading component. So you're going to have the timer in the top right corner of the screen. You can click next if you've answered all the questions on the screen and you want to advance before the time expires. And there is about 38 reading questions as well, same as listening. So as you go through the reading component, the same as listening, the passages and the questions will get gradually harder. So the questions at the end of the reading component might be worth more points than the questions at the beginning of the reading component. Excuse me. So the third component you will encounter is writing. So writing has only 2 questions. Task number 1 is going to be writing an email, and task number 2 is going to be responding to survey questions. So the popular feature in the CELPIP writing section is that you'll have spell check. So if you misspell a word on the writing test, it will underline it in red. You can right click on that word and it will give you possible corrections to choose from. So you do have spell check in the real CELPIP writing section. You're going to have to write responses and keep them within a word count range. So for task number 1 and task number 2, you're going to have to ensure that your response is at least 150 words, but no more than 200 words. So given that CELPIP is a computer delivered test, it has an automatic word counter. So as you're typing along, it's going to tell you, for example, you've already typed 87 words. So you just want to keep your response within that range of 150 to 200 words per task. You can also use common editing tools like cut, copy, and paste if you want to move your sentences around or paragraphs. It does have those editing functions. You get an hour in total to complete writing, so you get about a half an hour for each task. This is an example of task number 1. So it's gonna give you a scenario on the left, and then you're gonna have to write an email on based on the scenario. So it's gonna tell you what to include in the email on the right side there where you see the instructions. So just as an example, this is a scenario. You took your wife or your husband out to dinner at an expensive restaurant, but the meal and the service were terrible, and the restaurant manager was not around, so you weren't left with a solution. So the next day, you're writing an email to the restaurant manager, and it's going to give you 3 bullet points, which you can see there. So you have to address these 3 bullet points in your email. Number 1, state what problems you had with the food you ordered. Number 2, complain about the service. And number 3, describe how you want the restaurant to resolve the problem to your satisfaction. So you can actually, when you're addressing these 3 bullet points, you can break them into paragraphs. So you don't want to write one big long block of text. You want to separate your ideas into paragraphs to improve the readability of your response. So just make sure that you keep your answer within the word count range. And you do have spell check if you misspell a word on this section here. Okay, the final component is speaking. So speaking has 8 different tasks. You're going to be given a practice task at the beginning, which is like a warm-up question, which is not scored. You're going to have your headset on, and it's going to have a microphone. So this is not going to be a live interview with a speaking examiner. You're actually going to be following the instructions, excuse me, on the computer screen in front of you. And then you're going to be providing responses into your headset microphone. And what you say will be recorded and then listened to and graded at a later date by real CELPIP speaking evaluators. So what you say is recorded and then listened to and graded later. So it's not a live face-to-face interview with an examiner. So you don't have to worry about your body language or making eye contact with the examiner. Excuse me, sorry. Because the examiners are just going to be listening to your recordings. So these are the topics. Task number 1 is going to be giving advice. Task number 2, talking about a personal experience. The scenarios are always going to be different, but those will be the general topics of each task in the speaking component. So you only get about 15 to 20 minutes to complete the speaking component. And you're going to have preparation time for each task where you can see the topic and you can think about how you're going to answer it. For task number 3, for example, you're going to have to describe a scene or a picture. So you're going to basically pretend for this exercise, the person you're describing the picture to cannot see it. So you want to start with an introduction of what you're looking at. So you could say, I'm looking at a classroom full of students, and it appears that the teacher is out of the room talking to another teacher. And then it says, describe some things that are happening in the picture. So you don't have to describe everything. You want to choose things that you're comfortable talking about and describe those. So if there's something in the picture that you don't understand, don't try explaining that. Just focus on the things that you know you can explain and talk about those things. If you're given 60 seconds to talk, make sure you use the full amount of time. That way we can see the full extent of your English speaking ability. And, use a wide range of vocabulary, things like that. So that's kind of a general outline on how to complete this section. Yeah, you're going to get your preparation time beforehand where you can gather your thoughts, and then you will go into the official recording time where you officially describe this picture. Okay, so in terms of resources, we do have a lot of free resources that you can study with. So you don't necessarily have to spend money after you paid for your exam. So we do have free practice tests. We have podcasts that we release every week. We have other webinars such as this one that focus on, only the speaking component or only the writing component. We have study tips on our YouTube channel and on the website. So if you want to see where all of our free resources are, you can go to celpip.ca/free, and that has all of the free resources in one place for you to access. The free practice tests are on the website. So you can go to celpip.ca/sample, and there's 2 free practice tests that you get. When you complete the practice tests, you'll be able to check your scores in listening and reading. Not for speaking or writing, but for listening or reading, you'll be able to check your scores. But the practice tests are the same exact format as the real test. So it is a really good preparation resource because it's very, very similar to how the real CELPIP test is going to be. I already mentioned we have lots of webinars that focus on different components of the test. So if you're looking to improve your reading score, we have a Reading Pro webinar, which is 2 hours long, and it's taught by a CELPIP instructor. If you're looking to get score level 9 or higher on speaking, we have the Speaking Pro Target Level 9 Plus. So that's for people that are looking to achieve level 9 or higher in the speaking component of the test. And that's also 2 hours long and has 2 lessons actually. So depending on what your goal is, we have a different webinar for you. You can go to celpip.ca/webinars to register for one of these live sessions. We also have recordings of all of these webinars on our YouTube channel. If you want to check them out, when you're free and you're not working or you're not with your kids. So you can check out all these webinars on demand on our YouTube channel. We also have a CELPIP Live weekly. It's actually 2 times a month. It's a live stream where we invite special guests. Sometimes we'll invite an immigration professional or an English teacher. It's always related to the test taker journey. So you can check out episodes of that on our YouTube channel, which is at the bottom there, youtube.com/CELPIP official. We also have a score comparison chart where you can actually, for speaking and writing, look at different level responses. And these are actual past responses from test takers for both speaking and writing. So if you wanted to listen to a level 12 response, and then for the same question, listen to a level 10 or a level 8 or a level 5, that is on the website. It's on the score comparison chart area of the website. And you can also do the same for writing. So you can look at a perfect level 12 response for writing, compare that to a level 8 response to a level 5. And it tells you what the differences are. Why did this response get a 12? Why did this response get a 7? So it'll go into comparing why it got a different score so that you can see what the expectation is to get a different level for CELPIP. So. Okay, if you've used all of our free materials, you can also purchase other practice materials from our bookstore. So it's celpip.ca/store. And we have sets of practice tests. So I think we have 11 or 12 practice test sets. Each set has 2 complete practice tests in it. So we have over 20 practice tests that you can buy on the online store, as well as other study materials that we have on there too. We do release podcasts pretty often. So we also have an archive where you can watch all of the podcasts we've already recorded. So that's at celpip.ca/blog. And, we talk about like strategies to do well on the tests. We talk about other helpful topics like, how to build a life in Canada. So things that relate to the test taker journey, and it's a good way to practice your listening skills. Last but not least, we have the CELPIP exam. So this is if you need an academic English test to attend university or college in Canada. So CELPIP is an academic English test. It is computer-based, so you have to take it on a computer, but you can take it from home on your computer or at a test center. And all of the universities and colleges in Canada accept the CELPIP. So you can go to CELPIP.ca if you want more information about the test to find out if CELPIP is the right option for you. You can follow us on Instagram at CELPIP Test Official. That's where we post all updates pertaining to the CELPIP test. That's a good way to stay up to date with new webinars that are coming up, because we'll post on our Instagram when we have new webinars that you can register for, as well as study product sales, new test centers that we're opening up in, and other important updates. So we post that on our Instagram channel. So follow us on there to stay up to date with all things CELPIP. Last but not least, if you have taken CELPIP and IELTS within 3 months of each other, so within a short time of each other, you can apply to be part of a free research study. So you go to celpip.ca/research-study to apply. It's totally free to apply if you're selected, and we are looking for a lot of people for this study. If you're selected, we will refund you the cost of your last CELPIP exam. So you get $300 back just for being part of this study, which involves answering a couple questions about your experience taking both tests. So this is for people that have taken IELTS and CELPIP within 3 months of each other, ideally within the last year. So if that's you, apply to be part of the free research study. You have a good chance of getting selected. And if you are selected, you'll get your last CELPIP exam refunded to you. So you get some money back in your account. And all you have to do is answer a short research survey on your experience. Okay, questions, comments. So now we'll take questions from the audience. This is our contact information if you want to get in touch with the CELPIP team by phone or email. You can also check out our website and our bookstore link. So let's get into it here. Let's see here. Okay. Give me 1 second here. So Robert, there's a question here. Okay, can I apply for registered nurse if I am past registered nurse, but I have experience in another field in Canada, but I have registered nurse experience back home of around 4 years for express entry?
As a registered nurse, but your experience is in Canada is different, as you mentioned that.
Yes, but he has registered nurse experience back home, 4 years.
So I think she's eligible to apply for the as a skilled worker because she needs to include her experience or well, including her experience in Canadian experience, but she cannot apply for the Canadian experience class because it's a different job category. But you can include as a registered nurse, of course, it's a requirement and it's under the health category, the specific category. So you may be eligible to apply for the express entry, the special category. Or we can see if there's any provincial nominees program selecting the nurses. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question here. You mentioned that you need CLB 7 if English is your first language, but what if English is your second language? Can I still apply for express entry even if my listening and reading are below 7?
Yeah, but the French should be the CLB 7.
Okay.
Yeah, or NCLS.
Okay.
Yeah, the express entry is open for any English or French speakers. But if you want to get more score, French score or points for French, of course, you need to have the French is your first language, and English will be your second language. So if you're passing the CLB 7, you will get extra points for the French proficiency.
Okay.
Is that clear or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Omar asks, if I received an ITA and I am currently working, do I need to show proof of funds?
If you are in Canada, no need for proof of fund here.
Okay. Cindy asks, my back home experience will be proofed just for references of my previous work, or do I need to follow any other validation step?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
My back home experience will be proofed just for references of my previous work, or do I need to follow any other validation step?
For the work experience, of course, you should provide a work experience certificates, any work contracts, if you have any pay slips for previous work, all this should be provided as in your when you get selected, when you receive an ITA, or you get a nomination invitation from the provinces.
Okay. Ishmael asked, if employer is not willing to provide any assistance for PNP requirements, what other options can we adhere to?
Sorry, can you repeat, the question again?
Yeah, if an employer is not willing to provide any assistance for PNP requirements, what other options do we have?
Actually, this is a broad question, but actually, the provincial nominees, it's if you have experience in the province, so you maybe have a chances. If you have studied before in the province, you may get chances. If your option or your job experience is being selected, like for Saskatchewan, they have a category for all the overseas experience. Not you don't need to have an experience from the province to get selected or get nominated. So it depends on the not always the employer support is not always the final option, of course.
There's a question here from Gani. I am working as a minister of religion and it is LMIA exempt. Am I qualified for the express entry program?
Actually, not. This category is not really for the selection of the job or this job category. It's based on your as kind of the experience in the Ministry of Religions or religions. So you may have chances for the Canadian experience class, but mostly this is category of job that you don't need to have it, like it cannot be passed by the express entry.
Okay. There's a question from Ishmael. Can we create the profile even if the language test requirement of having 7 across the board for CEC is not met?
So he's under category the CSC, you mean?
CEC, yes.
Yeah. And
can we create the profile even if the language test requirement of having all 7s is not met?
No, you should have all the requirement, the language requirement before you apply it.
Okay, before creating the profile.
Yeah, because the profile will verify all the criteria, like the experience, the language requirement, and you should have the recent language requirement. So we should have the points ready, or you including all the information. So if your points are not, or your language are not met, so you'll not be able to submit a profile, or the profile will be ineligible. You receive a letter that your profile has been out of the pool.
Okay. Let's see here. Prashant asked, what will be the status once I receive invitation from Express Entry? How we will get notification about ITA?
Normally, I don't know if you are in Canada or outside Canada, but even if you are in Canada, of course, your current status will stay the same until you receive the PR residency. If you are in outside Canada or any of the cases, you will receive a notification on your portal or on your email, and then you open your portal and you receive, I see a notification that you got selected or you get an invitation to apply. At that moment, you will see a note that you have a new page having all the requirement or required documents to submit and fill another application with detailed information and most recent information about you and your family, your experience, your language, and you need to upload at the end of page, you need to upload, or last page, you need to upload all the documentation that prove your experience, the age, or everything.
Okay, so Boudica has a question for me. So it's just with regards to doing well on the CELPIP reading component. So for CELPIP reading, just make sure you've answered every question, like you don't leave anything blank. We do have webinars like the Reading Pro, which you can watch on our YouTube channel, which cover the reading section for like 2 hours. So it's a good lesson. But you also want to scan for keywords in the reading that relate to the question you're trying to answer. So sometimes it's not going to be the exact same word that's in the question that's in the reading paragraph. So for example, if the question is about physical activity, it might say fitness in the reading paragraph. So you want to look for keywords or synonyms that relate to the question you're trying to answer to quickly pick out the answers. Yeah, just once again, make sure you've answered every question. Don't leave anything blank. And we do have that Reading Pro webinar on our YouTube channel you can check out, which goes over how to do well in the reading component. We also have a reading webinar coming up in a couple weeks. I'll post the link in the chat. It's called Reading Made Easy. And we cover strategies to do well on the CELPIP reading component. Okay, so Omar asks, can I use CELPIP like PEO? PEO? Can I use CELPIP like PEO?
Right. I don't know about.
Not sure what. Could you elaborate on what PEO is, Omar?
About the PTE? I don't know.
So there's a question here from Tiago. What happens if I took CELPIP several times? Do all these results, are all these results valid? Yeah, so basically, as long as your test was taken within the last 2 years, you can use whichever CELPIP result you want. So the new one does not cancel out the old one. So as long as that result has been taken within the last 2 years, you can pick whichever of the valid results you want to submit.
Yeah. And also, if you will submit the recent certificate, like if you took it like 3 times, if the third time is the better or the best, so of course you include the third time. If the second time is the best, it depends on your profile. So you will include the information from the last certificate. So the certificate number will be included, the date and the score.
Yeah. And then there's a question here is, do Canadian universities accept CELPIP score for higher studies? So typically CALE is our other academic test that's accepted by the university. So CELPIP is a general English test. So that's typically only accepted for immigration and citizenship and to like for employment and stuff. But CALE is our test that's accepted by the post-secondary institutions in Canada. So if you need an English test to study in Canada, we would recommend considering CALE for that. So that's our other test, which is CAEL, and the website is cale.ca. Ishmael asks, has reading component have negative marking? You don't lose marks for guessing wrong. So it's better to just pick an answer. If you guess incorrectly, it doesn't take marks away from what you have. Ashmead asks, can you share writing templates? What I would recommend is go on our YouTube channel. We have a Writing Pro webinar, and that goes over like actual sample responses for writing. So that's at youtube.com/CELPIP official. And check out our Writing Pro webinars for that. Byron asks, should the score be affected if I write only 150 words or get a higher score if I do 200 words? It really depends. I mean, you always want to try to get a little bit closer to 200 words. You don't want to be too close to 150 words. You want to try to give as much detail as possible and support your ideas with examples. So I would say try to get closer to 200 words. But in the writing component, they look at so many different things to arrive at your overall writing score. So, but I would say try to give as much detail as possible. So you want to be closer to 200 words than you do 150 words. So Patrick says, when answering the speaking question during the recording part, can you still see the image while recording, or are you expected to memorize what you've seen? No, when you're giving your recorded response, you will have the picture right in front of you, so you can refer to it and describe it as you're talking. Let's see here. Preetha says, regarding salutations at start and end of writing task 2, survey opinion, should we include salutations for survey writing? Please explain. Preetha, no, for task number 2, you can just go right into your opinion. So I think that our town building a shopping mall is better than our town building a new park. So you don't have to say dear so-and-so. You can just go right into your opinion straight away of which option you think is better. Let's see here. Speaking and writing test will be scored. Cindy says, if I pay for an extra speaking and writing test, will it be scored? If I pay for an extra. So typically you have to pay for the full test. Do you mean the practice material, or do you mean like an actual test? Maybe if you can clarify there. Ravi asks, how much score should I get for PR?
PR, does it mean by PR?
Like, I guess they mean the language score?
Yeah, the language score, if you're applying for like the express entry program or express entry system, like skilled worker or Canadian experience class, it depends. So if you're a skilled worker, so it will be CELPIP 7 or what?
Perfect.
Yeah, the 7 level, yeah. If you are in the skilled, the Canadian class, it will be just, so if you're Canadian experience class, it depends on your tier or the job category. So if in tier 0 and 1, so it'll be 7. If it's category or tier 0, 2 and 3, it will be CELPIP 5.
Great.
Yep. I have someone asked about if he's a leader or a just reader, can apply for express entry. Yeah, you can apply. I'm sorry, I missed what you said. You can apply and it will be like the job approved job, or you can include that you receive an arrangement job offer, but it will be a LIMIA exempt.
Great. And I'm just going to post in the chat a reading webinar for CELPIP that we have coming up. So it's on June 25th. And you can register for this on the link that I'm providing. June 25th. So that's going to cover the CELPIP reading component and how to do well on it. So that'll be like a 1.5 hour lesson on reading. So you can register for that at the link that I've provided. I'm also going to put in the chat the sample responses link for CELPIP, so you can look at sample responses for writing and speaking. So I'll post that in the chat right now. And Robert, if you want to take another question, feel free. Go.
Jessica Christian, she was asking, I would like to ask if I could apply for TRV for my husband. I have a TRV as well, and I'm working as a personal support worker for one and a half year in Ontario. So you can apply for TRV for him, or you can apply for open work permit also for him. But your work permit should at least valid for 6 months before you apply. Can I include my, for Joy, can I include my pharmacy evaluated certificate from Canada and my PSW certificate to my profile? Of course, you can include, this is an education from Canada, of course, will add more points to your profile. Omar said that regarding the EE application, I'm currently working in Ontario for more than 1 year and I have a browser in Alberta. My question is, can I lodge my profile for Alberta? Actually, the right question. So if you have a browser and you want to settle in Alberta, you should meet the requirements for Alberta. Like if you have the experience being selected or experience is demanding, yeah, you can apply for Alberta. But if you want to stay in Ontario, have experience in Ontario, of course, should meet the qualification for Ontario.
All right. Just typing some answers here to questions. Okay. So everybody's going to receive this weekend the webinar recording as well as a voucher code to redeem a free study product. So that will be this weekend. It's going to be emailed to everybody. So Rajesh asked, can we get 50% discount code for study materials? So you're going to receive a free study product this weekend. And then oftentimes we have study product sales where all of our products are like 50% off. So that you have to check our website for when we have sales, but we normally have sales maybe once a month where all of our products are 50% off and then you can get a discount on them. But you will receive the free product this weekend. It's a free online study program and it has a free practice test inside it, as well as other resources. So it's a good study product, which includes a practice test. Not sure if you answered this, Robert. Can we apply for PR ourselves, or it's best we make use of the representatives?
It's actually, I would say select me, but no, actually you're open to do it yourself, of course, and you can do ask for help. What we can do is if you want to create it by yourself, and we can do like a review or a final, help you in the final review before you submit. This is also an option. For immigration or RCIC, there is no priority of if you will select it by or I will help you in the application. But normally, based on our experience, we try to cover all the points that may make the agent or the officer delay your file or ask a question or ask for more documentation. We'll try to cover all the points before we submit a profile. So this is yeah, this can help you in faster processing, of course.
Yeah, and then Omar asked if the Professional Engineers of Ontario accept CELPIP. So what I would recommend is contact them directly to see if they accept the test, but they should, because most regulatory bodies in Canada do accept CELPIP. So just contact them, and I'm sure that they're going to say yes, that they will accept it. Yeah. So Natalia asks, last year the government approved that students could work full-time. That time counts as work experience?
Well, only the experience which will be count is after you graduate. So if you finish your degree and you get applied for a post-graduation work permit, so only the experience after the graduation will be counted. The experience during the work, it's during the study, it's for your help you in the life expenses, but it's not counted as work experience during it or Canadian experience. Correct.
Maricel asks, under the non-express entry in Alberta, you kindly tackle about AOS. Can you explain AOS under the non-express entry in Alberta? Oh, there's another question here. If you can, Robert, can you put your contact information in the chat?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just so people have it to get in touch with you. There's a question here from Ishmael. Can we create multiple profiles, like one for CEC and one for skilled worker?
No, you only provide for the job you're applying or the category you're applying.
So Maricel wanted you to explain the Alberta Opportunity Stream, AOS.
Yes. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. Take one or two more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up for today. But we will be having more sessions very soon. So Rajesh asked, do we get any opportunity to check our CELPIP answers to correct ourselves? So while you're still on the same screen, you can modify your answer, but once you go forward in the test, you cannot go back to a previous section to change anything. So make sure before you click next that you're happy with what you've submitted on the current screen, because you cannot go back in the CELPIP test to change anything.
Yeah, I think what someone was asking about the Alberta opportunity stream.
Opportunity stream, yeah.
This is only for the people who live and work in Alberta and have a job offer from an employer, so they can apply for this program and they get nomination from the Alberta province, and then we'll be able to apply for the permanent residency.
So Rajesh asks if you can check like your answers post-test. So once the test is done, no, you're going to get general feedback in your account about how well you did, but you won't be able to check like what your answers were or what the correct answers were. We can't release that information just due to test security. So yeah, but you'll get general feedback in your account about what you did well, what you need to work on, and why you got a particular score. Amarachi asks, can I and my spouse have separate profiles, or does it have to be one?
Separate profile for PR. Yes, this can be done, but yeah, it will include like the husband, for example, as a main applicant, and then after the wife can.
So Chibuki asked, can you write up to and not more than 220 words on writing test 1 and 2? So you can write a little bit more than the maximum, but you don't want to go too far over because you will lose marks for not following instructions. So it does say to keep your response within 150 and 200 words. So you don't want to write a lot more than 200 words because that will show that you're not following instructions. So you can go over it a little bit if you want to write like 210 words, but I wouldn't recommend, writing 240 words because that might affect your score. If it's only asking you to write 150 to 200 words. Let's see here. So I'll take one more question and then we'll wrap it up for today. So Obina asked, for CLB, is minimum 6-7 CLB required for category-based express entry?
Sorry, can you repeat again? Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
For CLB, is minimum 6 or 7 CLB required for category-based express entry?
For category-based selection or category-based, it's CLB 7 all the time for federal skilled worker. Yeah.
Okay. Another question here. Does your answer imply that I can create a profile and my wife has to create one also?
Yes.
Okay, so they both have to create a profile.
No, not a requirement, but normally if the main applicant, for example, the husband has more experience or more demanding experience, so they will include or will be the main applicant. If the wife also has more experience and she wants to get selected or more demanding, so both they can open their profiles. Yeah, the one will be selected, of course. And more chances, but yeah, normally we evaluate the file, see which profile has more experience, and this is the reasonable way to make the more demanding or the file which will be more attractive for immigration or has more points, will get more points. So we create a profile for this person and we'll include the wife or the partner as the dependent and a family member or the children.
Great. All right. I just want to thank you, Robert, for coming on today and delivering great information. And we'll definitely do another webinar soon. But yeah, just want everybody to know to enjoy your weekend. Good luck preparing for your exam. And also definitely reach out to Robert if you need help with your immigration process. Yeah. And yeah, hope you guys have a great weekend. You can enjoy the nice weather, get outside, things like that. So yeah, thanks again to Robert.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me. And it was a great pleasure to be with you and with everybody today. And I will be open for any questions that you have. You can send me to on my website. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank you.